Hey guys, today we're going over Attack on Titan final season episode 70 Deceiver. This was a good one as per usual. This episode first starts off with none other than Gabby and Falco and their mischievous ways, and in particular, Gabby being very crazed and sporadic in the way she's going about things, which is kind of troublesome, especially if we're one of the ones rooting for her to get away, because it looks like she's just very barely being held down by Falco. Like Falco's really trying to keep her down, but she's just super crazed about her own beliefs and what's happened with these island devils and what's happened between the Marley and Eldians, which is really interesting to see because it definitely ties back to a lot of different things you can take in real world, such as like personal beliefs on particular subjects and how other people think of those situations. But the episode goes more than that because we do also have a scene with Hanj and Mikasa and what they're going through and some of the more interesting parts of their character at the current moment. So first, we're gonna talk about the case with Hanj and also a little bit with Mikasa. Not too much was given there, but I think it was somewhat telling of what may to come. In particular, with Hanj, we saw her going through the crowd of people before breaching the I guess the judge room, where we have these four people who are in the room uh, during for Eren, which I thought was interesting because this does go to show that Eren is eventually seeming to become the one to rule them all, so to say. Where Hanj and I guess in totality, the scout regiment isn't going to be in control for too much longer if Eren has a say in any of this, because a lot of people were rooting for Eren and his belief on how Eldian should go about victory. Honestly, I'm for it. I think his way is definitely more chaotic and will be definitely more interesting than I think how the scouts will want to go about it. Where they're definitely going to be a little more meticulous, more thoughtful, because they don't really have the power to become titans, right? We have a very few amount of people who actually become titans, and they want to go about things a very much more brutish way, where it's just like power is strength, right? Strength and power. So I'm pumped to see that. I'm pumped to see Hanj not being power anymore. However, that might sort of awaken Levi to do something else, which down for. I think Hans has been given too much screen time, and I think I want to see more Levi. All right, so that'll be cool to see if that is to come. We saw a little hiccup with Mikasa and her thoughts on the current situation and how she seems to be not really as attached to Eren anymore, and that goes more to show how perhaps Eren is definitely detached from majority of his friends or people he would so-called friends, such as Armin, Mikasa, even like Sasha to an extent, right? Because these are people who weren't with him for a while he was in Marley. So and we got to see one of the girls that she had actually protected in the past in a jail cell, and that sort of sparked this idea of how, hey, maybe Mikasa needs to go back to her roots, and she had this flashback of how Eren was there, showing her, I guess, the way. So I think there was a lot of foreshadowing in this episode with those particular people, and I think that's cool. I'm definitely waiting to see Eren and what he does, because when we do see Eren, it's most definitely gonna be with Zeke and probably with some Levi, which I think honestly stars of the show, right? And we want to see that. But of course, we have this. The majority of the episode was mostly, I want to say like 75% of the time was about Falco and Gabby and them escaping from the prison. And I thought this was an interesting way of escaping because I see this all the time. Like some guards gonna be like, "Oh, what's wrong?" Right? And then the prisoners are always like something super mischievous behind their back, and they sort of like get the guard while they're down trying to investigate what's happening to this prisoner. Like this happens everywhere. Like this happens in games a bunch of times. Like cutscenes. This will happen in a bunch of like movies. The guard just walks in, tries to check on the prisoner. The prisoner just knocks the guard out when he comes in and check on him. And that was hilarious. Actually, it's kind of like gruesome too, because Gabby being like a very small young child, you would expect her to not really get the upper edge on an adult who is like guarding a prison. Even though it's a kid, maybe the kid part got him off guard, but it was kind of crazy to think about that. Like, come on, Gabby. I guess she's trained for this sort of stuff, right? The Eldians and Marley are definitely more. I don't want to say brutish, but they're definitely more trained for this sort of stuff, combat. Right? They're not treated like they need to go to school every day, right? they're more trained for like military combat and stuff like that. So this is, I guess, very telling of how Gabby sees the world, where it's just like black and white. You're good or you're bad. So once they get rid of the guard, they go out and they try to find somewhere to go, find answers to questions that they have. Especially they want to find Zeke because Gabby has no clue what Zeke is doing. Because it looks like from her point of view, Zeke is on the Eldian side. That is the Paradise Eldian side. And honestly, I'm with her. Like, what the heck is happening with Zeke? I always figured he was a bad guy. And even at the beginning of the season, him just like spraying all these rocks against a bunch of the Eldians, or I'm sorry, yeah, against a bunch of the island Eldians, really made him seem like even bad at that situation. But now he's just heralded as like being a part of the bad guys from the Marley's point of view. It's just like what? So he's become essentially a traitor, and Gabby wants to find out why. I suppose Falco wants to too, but Gabby, the way Gabby's going about it, she's just very straight, blunt, straight to the point sort of girl. And so when she does talk to people, that is the person that she ends up finding her, aka Maya. And when Maya brings back Gabby and Falco to her estate, aka the orphanage, Gabby just blasts it out right in front of Maya that like, hey, we're Marlians slash Eldians, and you guys are the devils here. And I'm just like, whoa, like that's rough. Like she had such a hard time sort of keeping it in, thinking like these guys were like literally the devil incarnate. I'm like, geez, like she was hundred, like you can tell like she was incredibly brainwashed, and that's very telling here. And I'm surprised Falco didn't have this sort of same mentality. And this sort of goes to show that like not everyone thinking the same all the time, and you sometimes will, despite the way things might be, we'll get those one-off situations where like, or many situations, not even one-off necessarily, where like people will have these just completely sporadic different approaches to things, and you can see that with Gabby, where like she just no chill, will kill someone just for being an Eldian, despite herself being like a Marleyan Eldian. And I was like, whoa. I'm surprised Maya didn't try to get rid of her or like rat her out when they were fighting, when she went and got the freaking pitchfork and started running at Maya with it. I was like, what? Like, what are you doing, Maya? So that was interesting. And then later on, Maya ends up bringing like Falco and Gabby to her village and explaining the situation onto why to Gabby onto why the Eldians there aren't necessarily bad. And I don't know if Gabby really took this in, but it seems like she's slowly getting to understand it. And I was like, okay, how old is Maya? Like this is the sort of thing that's like, are they really kids? Like, can kids really understand this sort of thing? Because it seems like this is one of those situations where like they might be like 10 or 12 years old, right? But like they have like the brain of a 30 or 35 something year old, right? Because it's like, how the heck are the kids gonna that you can grasp these concepts of like understanding like you're not always right. So I don't know, but apparently it seems that Falco is definitely leaning towards like, yeah, us Eldians aren't always right, us Marlins aren't always right. And I think Gabby is slowly getting over that hurdle, and that will be interesting to see, because once we do get some information about what Zeke is doing and why Zeke is thinking the way he's thinking, and Gabby sort of absorbs that knowledge, I'm interested in seeing how she responds to the situation. So that'll be cool to see, especially with what has to come from what we got at the preview of the next episode, where it looks like Maya is going to go to a restaurant who has a chef from Marley, and we know exactly where that is. That's Sasha's BF. Sasha's best friend is there. The Marlene that cooks that good ass lobster. So I'm pumped to see what happens there. I wonder if I doubt that the chef is gonna rat out Gabby, or maybe they don't even know who Gabby is. But this means they're definitely in closer proximity to people like Aaron, Levi, Sasha, even Hanj, right? Like, will Hanj understand like these prisoners escaped, and will she know that these are the exact prisoners that escaped, the youngins that escaped? If she does, will that do something? Will Zeke get angry? I don't know. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen, but it definitely means there's probably gonna be a little more action in the next episode. And I'm pumped. I am pumped for that, because that'll be something. That'll be a whole vibe. All right, I'm pumped for that. Especially, I want to see more screen time from Aaron. Like, come on, I just want to see more Aaron. I just want to see Titans. Okay, I feel like we've only gotten a lick of what is to come so far. I hope, especially being like the final season. I don't know how many episodes it's gonna be, but like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I want to see more Titans. All right. All right, guys. Well, thanks guys for listening to my discussion. Tell me what you guys think about this episode. What do you guys think about Gabby? Is she tripping? Like, come on, Gabby. Is she? What do you guys think she's gonna think once she tells, or she's gonna? What do you guys think she's gonna think after? I guess Zeke tells Gabby what's actually happening. Um, I don't know. Gabby is just I don't like her too much. After seeing that, it's like, how do you not understand that? Like, it's all retrospect though, of course. Hindsight, I suppose, because I don't know if I would behave the same way if I was Gabby's age. Anyways, yeah. Peace out, guys. Catch you later. Deuces.